Toronto Blue Jays just signed Isiah Kiner-Falefa and Kevin Kiermaier within the last couple of days. Joe, tell me about it.
So they re-signed Kevin Kiermaier to a 1-year, $10 million deal to go back and patrol center field for them, which I think is something that is pretty decent for them. If I'm a Blue Jays fan, I'm okay with that for the most part. It's just the moves following is what you need to really worry about as far as how you're building out that roster around Bo Bichette, Vlad, and like the catching tandem of Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk. Like there's a lot to like about the Blue Jays roster, but there's definitely some salt in the wound from missing out on Otani, missing out on Juan Soto, to going to re-signing Kevin Kiermaier for 1 year 10, maybe even being rumored to Bellinger because you missed out on those previous guys. But then you follow that up with signing IKF. And there's nothing wrong with signing Isiah Kiner-Falefa. He is just the Blue Jays' Whit Merrifield again, I would say. And does he provide a bit more flexibility? Does he provide maybe a little bit more youth? I don't really know. Like, he's not like super young, but I'm saying like Whit Merrifield's old, kind of a vibe. And, maybe he was going to start to decline, whereas Kiner-Falefa is still kind of plateauing. It's just for signing Kevin Kiermaier to 1 year 10 and then 2-year deal for Kiner-Falefa, 15 million, so 7.5 annual average, from where they were supposed to be at with spending to where they're at now. I would be pretty peeved as a Blue Jays fan, especially with like the window being open. And I feel like it's a very similar situation to the Mariners in a way that, like, a little bit of complacency. And our friend Ty Dane Gonzalez put out a tweet saying, would you rather, and then it's obviously the Mariners signing Mitch Garver for 2 years 24, or Kiermaier and Isiah Kiner-Falefa for 2 years 25, or just 25 million spending in general. And for me, that's a no-brainer, specifically with the Mariners roster fit. I think I would still go with Garver like 9 times out of 10. But Colton, you have a different opinion.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate here because I do like the Mitch Garver signing, contrary to popular belief. And by that popular belief, I mean just myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that given Garver's injury history, and let's just say things continue down the same path they have been, he plays in 81 games. Let's call it half a season. 81 games.
Yeah.
Or you get 2 players, Kevin Kiermaier, stellar defense, so-so player. Isiah Kiner-Falefa, can play all over the field. Not that great of a hitter, but nonetheless, you basically fill out 2 positions for, we'll just call it the same amount of money compared to the half a year of a DH position you're going to fill out with Mitch Garver. I think that there's a little more to it than just, hey, the Mariners signed a better player, because they did. Mitch Garver, when he's healthy, is better than both those guys probably combined. But unfortunately, everything for me goes back to him staying healthy. And I understand that him not catching should keep him healthy, but I think that signing Kevin Kiermaier as a guy that knows I wouldn't say he was a fan favorite in Toronto, but he was a guy that I feel like was well liked.
No, and I mean, he made himself at home in the first year there, like very quickly. Yeah. I'd say like a lot of the Blue Jays, I think for some reason Blue Jays creators just pop up on my YouTube recommended pretty quickly, and Kiermaier's a guy that I think a lot of them tend to enjoy. Like, it's not necessarily like this negative feeling with him, but it is a pretty overall positive. And I think coming straight from Tampa Bay to Toronto, he fit in pretty quickly. And I mean, no slack to him. He put up damn near 4 WAR last year, according to Baseball Reference, and it is a lot to do with his defense, but he put up a 104 OPS plus last year. So, he is a bit on the older side, so he's going to be 34, so maybe he starts declining, so maybe that's part of the problem and why I wouldn't value him and Kiner-Falefa more. And as far as like a roster fit, I know he could probably go be your everyday corner outfielder. Why are you blinking like that?
Because Garver's 33.
I know.
That 1 year is just like really killing you, huh?
No, like the position that they play, like, it's like why can quarterbacks play until they're 45, but running backs bottom out at 32? Like, Garver, a power guy and gonna be a DH, he's not gonna lose that as quickly as Kiermaier could lose his stellar defense and the way that tracks in terms of baseball, like his speed in general, and like whatever. He's not like necessarily the fastest guy ever, but that definitely plays a part into his defensive prowess, and that's where my hiccup could be with Kiermaier. But he's been relatively healthy throughout most of his career. It's not the greatest, but definitely better than Garver. But the other side for that for me is Isiah Kiner-Falefa. I don't see it. To take your joke, we've got him at home. We've got a lot of him at home.
7 of him at home.
Yeah. And so, I mean, a 78 OPS plus last year in 113 games with the Yankees. Nothing really to write home about. He is the next best two-way player in the MLB behind Shohei Ohtani because he did strike out Eugenio Suarez. But that aside, and like the memes aside, I'm taking Dylan Moore over Isiah Kiner-Falefa personally, especially at $7.5 million.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for IKF. But I mean, hey, Kiner-Falefa can catch. I would rather have Kiner-Falefa catch than Mitch Garver.
You're really going into the devil's advocate here.
No, I still do agree that Mitch Garver, like I said, is a better player than both of them combined when he's healthy. I mean, that's just
offensively.
Offensively, yeah. Defensively, no. I also look at it as it's harder to fill. Let's say, Kiermaier's going to play center? You think? Yeah,
I would assume so, or maybe Varsho just goes out there and then Kiermaier gets to a corner. However they want to do it.
It's harder to fill center field than it is to fill DH.
Yeah.
You could put anybody. I can go in there and DH, Yeah, I'm not going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to suck, but I could do it.
Yeah.
But you can't put me in center. It's going to be a detriment to the baseball team to even see me standing out there. The inning doesn't even have to start yet. I'm standing out there in center field. I'm fat. I'm like, don't worry, guys.
You're winded before you even take position. Yeah.
I'm running to center field. I got to stop by second base. I'm like, 1 second. Pitch clock's going down. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just it was very one-sided for Mitch Garver, which I completely understand. I just think that there's more to the conversation than simply he hit ball better than he hit ball.
Yeah. Because I think obviously 2 guys for a similar price for Mitch Garver is fine. I think if you could switch out Isiah Kiner-Falefa in this conversation for Tommy Pham or Robbie Grossman, like you get Kiermaier for $10 million and then you get one of those guys for $7.5. That I think I would take more because you're filling out both the outfield positions that I think we need right away. And then DH, as much as I praised at the beginning of the podcast that I'm happy the rotating DH days are over, you could go out and find someone relatively cheap in free agency if you felt like you could spend a little bit more. I doubt it at that point. If you've spent, say, like 17 to 18 million, like would the value necessarily be there? Probably not. So you'd probably rather just go trade for it in that situation and fill it out that way. But it's the hang up for me is Isiah Kiner-Falefa. I don't see the value at $7.5 million. Whereas Kiermaier for 10, if he were to go play a corner outfield for the Mariners, I know you picked him to be signing with the Mariners in the free agent predictions that we did, and obviously he'd go to a corner in that situation. That's a very good corner defensive outfielder who his offense could play in T-Mobile Park, right? I mean, it's a 104 OPS plus. His splits aren't terrible. Limited action against lefties last year, but it still wasn't bad. But I don't know. I could see why it is one-sided, and I think you've kind of talked me into why it shouldn't be one-sided as much, but Kiner-Falefa
it should be 60-40.
Yeah, it's just like the Kiner-Falefa thing is just bananas to me that he got a 2-year deal to begin with.
Would you rather have Mitch Garver or Kevin Kiermaier, Isiah Kiner-Falefa, and Mike Ford?
Oh, God. I mean, at that rate, like...
You could probably get Ford back on a $1 to $1.5 million deal.
Yeah, he'll come home anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He'll find his way.
Yeah, I see where you're going because like it's talking about like what the next move would be, and Kiermaier and whatever. Like it could allow for other moves to happen, and like you don't have DH locked in with Garver. I'm still just gonna say Garver to be stubborn. I'll say it.
You know what sucks?
What's that?
Is that this is what we have to talk about.
Why?
These like mid-level players,
Yeah.
Would you rather have Isiah Kiner-Falefa, Kevin Kiermaier, and Mike Ford, who like the 3 of them on like would lose to the guys in benchwarmers? You know what I mean? They lose if it was a 3-on-3.
You think Gus Bus is running house on those guys?
Gus Bus is throwing it by every single one of them. Yeah.